The first tool is a tool of listening. The tool of listening. And we took a look at listening when we're looking at the part 2 of this session, when we looked at feedback systems. So the first is the tool of listening. Now, in talking about listening, last year when we did building capacity for leadership, we looked at 3 planes of associations. In talking about listening, I'm focusing on plane 1 associations. And last year, I explained that plane 1 associations are the relationship you have with people who are below you in your leadership. Plane 2 has to do with those on your level as friends. Plane 3 has to do with mentors. But in this leadership tool of listening, we are looking at plane 1, those below you. And we did some work on feedback 2 weeks ago, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But then as a leader, it's important to listen to the people below you. Very important. I want to go through a few quotes. One is by Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People. He shared something I want us to take a look at. He said, Carl Langford, who has been mayor of Orlando, Florida, the home of Disney World for many years, frequently admonished his staff to allow people to see him. Now, it means that he wanted to have an effective feedback system. He wanted to have a good leader-team relationship, what we did in part 2. He claimed he had an open door policy, yet the citizens of his community were blocked by secretaries and administrators when they called. So the citizens were still not being given an opportunity to see him. Finally, the mayor found a solution. He removed the door from his office. His aides got the message, and the mayor has had a truly open administration since the day his door was symbolically thrown away. So that he was communicating to his people, but they were still not listening to what he was saying. So he now removed the door. It means that anybody could easily come to see him, and they understood what he was saying. He wanted a good leader-team relationship by allowing his people to get access to him. In How to Be Heard, Julian Treasure said something. He said that in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Powerful Lessons in Personal Change, Stephen R. Covey wrote, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. I call this speech writing. While that irrelevant noise, that is you speaking, is going on in front of me, I'm concentrating on composing my next brilliant monologue. So Julian Treasure is saying that speech writing is where you are listening to people, but you're not really listening to understand what they're saying. You are listening to give a response. And I believe in many ways we do that. Sometimes someone is talking and you're just waiting to reply. You're not really listening to the person. And in many of those situations, you realize that you say something the person has already said, or you say something to contradict what the person has said, to imply that you're not really listening. Because there is a way to listen to understand. But in speech writing, the person starts talking, you've already developed an answer. You are just waiting, finish talking, and let me just tell you what I also have to say. But then as leaders, we should not practice speech writing. When we are listening, we should listen to understand the person. After fully understanding the person, we can now formulate an answer or a response and give to the person. But when you do speech writing, what is going to happen is you're not really going to hear what the person was saying. So sometimes if what the person was saying is something you should take, you end up not taking it because you are not really focusing. Your ears were open, but your mind was not attentive to what the person was saying. So in leadership, we need to listen. We need to listen. Very, very important. So 2 weeks ago, when we're looking at feedback systems, we mentioned the importance of developing a feedback system if we want a good or effective leader-team relationship. And we said that in leadership, we need people. And we said many of the people God will bring our way in our leadership have the expertise and the skills to help us in our leadership to fulfill the vision, the mission, and also to get the core values working in that group. So we really need to listen to the people. So one thing I'll admonish is that develop a feedback system that suits you. There are many ways of developing a feedback system. And all you have to do is to develop what suits you and your people. So the first leadership trait or tool for effective leadership is listening. So every leader must be a listener. And remember, don't practice speech writing. Don't listen to answer. Listen to first understand.